Chapter 351, Peers. Archangel Kurisu, what are your intentions? Yu exclaimed, his voice filled with a dark warning. His decision had been made, and with the blood of his ancestors coursing through him, his demeanor bore the unwavering decisiveness of one born into a great lineage. He murdered junior sister Zitai. We shall exact vengeance for her death. The crowd roared with fury, their voices unified in their thirst for blood. Enough! Yu's voice cut through the uproar with an icy sharpness. Is this the place for petty feuds to be settled by common hands? The sect alone has the right to decide whether Junior Brother Han is guilty. You have no authority to stir up chaos. Indeed, it is the sect's matter to resolve, a clear voice rang out, and in the blink of an eye, a figure had appeared in the courtyard, unnoticed by all but Ling Han. The air itself seemed to tremble at his sudden presence. Ling Han regarded him with quiet surprise. So, this was Ao Feng. Greetings, Attendant Ao. The crowd immediately clasped their hands and bowed with deep respect, recognizing the man before them. Ling Han's gaze remained steady as he sized up the newcomer. Ao Feng appeared to be a man in his 40s, tall and lean, with skin as smooth and clear as jade. His handsome features were framed by the flowing strands of his black hair, and he carried himself with an aura of elegance that would charm any woman. His very presence exuded a magnetic pull, a masterful blend of grace and power. It was no wonder Ao Feng had garnered such a reputation. His martial prowess was exceptional, already a step away from the flower blossom tier, outstripping the genius Rain Emperor by more than a dozen years. His talent was undeniable, but in a world rife with prodigies, Ao Feng's place in the grand scheme seemed less prominent than those of others like Ao Xinglai, Liu Yang, and Zhu Xuan. Each of them far surpassed Ao Feng at the same age. Ao Feng's gaze lingered on the body of his daughter, Ao Zitai. A known womanizer, Ao Feng had sired countless children, most of whom he barely remembered, yet among them were a few who stood out, with Ao Xinglai and Ao Zitai being the most notable. The sight of his daughter's corpse stirred something deep within him, but his expression remained unnervingly calm. A great breach of sect rules, he murmured, but as an attendant I have the right to deal with this matter. Is that not so, Nephew Kaiyu? A wave of power surged from Ao Feng as his aura of the spiritual pedestal tier engulfed the area. Yue Kaiyu's body shuddered under the pressure, cold sweat beading on his brow. The oppressive weight of Ao Feng's presence was unbearable, and Yue Kaiyu's legs trembled beneath him, his resolve faltering. His voice, previously firm, now seemed to dissolve into the silence of the courtyard. But at that moment, Ling Han stepped forward, placing himself directly between Yue Kaiyu and Ao Feng, shielding him from the crushing aura. Yue Kaiyu's heart lightened, though a sense of guilt quickly followed. Though Ling Han had displayed feats of monstrous strength, both of them were still in the first layer of the spiritual ocean tier. How could he stand against someone so close to the flower blossom tier? But Ling Han, unfazed by the pressure, stood tall, with unwavering confidence. Ao Feng's aura was nothing compared to the suffocating weight he had borne in the past. Back when he walked as one of the strongest in the heaven tier, a calm smile crossed Ling Han's face, and he asked, "What do you intend to do with me, Attendant Ao?" The crowd gasped in unison, marvelling at Ling Han's audacity. To remain so composed in the face of Ao Feng's immense power, to challenge the attendant of the sect so directly, such courage was rare, even in the most seasoned martial artists. Ao Feng's lips curled into a slight sneer. A life for a life, as the saying goes. The punishment is execution. Ling Han's laughter rang through the air, strong and confident. Ao Zitai conspired against both me and Senior Brother Yu. I am the champion of the trials, and my future holds great promise. Senior Brother Yue is of the esteemed Grand Elder's bloodline. We are both pillars of this sect. Yet Ao Zitai dared to slander us, calling us vile and lewd. Such a person, shouldn't she be executed instead? The crowd fell silent, their gazes flickering between Ling Han and Ao Feng. To hear such a boast from Ling Han, who was so young and untested by the true powers of the sect, was audacious, but for those who had seen him in action, it was nothing less than true. His battles had proven that he was no mere boastful youth. His power was undeniable. Ao Feng, stunned by Ling Han's words, took a deep breath, yet his anger remained cold and calculated. I do not care for your future prospects, nor your status in this sect. The fact remains that you killed my daughter. No one, not even you, can defy the Ao clan's justice." With that, Ao Feng moved, his aura exploding like a burst of radiant light. In an instant, the martial intent surrounding him formed a world of its own, encircling all who stood nearby. Ling Han's mind raced, calculating his next move. Should he call upon the Black Tower's power or draw the demon birth sword to end this conflict swiftly? Or perhaps he could retreat into the Black Tower and avoid direct confrontation. He longed for the day when Ling Dongxing could deal with Ao Feng himself. But before he could act, a crimson palm struck out to intercept Ao Feng's attack, a voice ringing out through the air. "Humph, the Winter Moon sect is no private kingdom for you to rule as you wish." The clash of energies was deafening, and as the light faded, another figure appeared in front of Ling Han. A man in his 40s, with striking black hair and a commanding presence, stood unfazed by the explosive energies around him. Folding his arms, he spoke with authority. "I believe the fault lies with Zitai. As for junior brother Han, a simple mark on his record should suffice." "Father!" Yu Kaiyu's voice rang out in joy, his relief palpable as his father, Yu Zhenshan, arrived on the scene. "Greetings, attendant Yue." The crowd again bowed in respect, recognizing the newcomer as the esteemed Yue Zhenshan. Ao Feng's eyes burned with fury as he glared at Yue Zhenshan. "So my daughter dies without justice?" "Ho ho, senior brother Ao," Yue Zhenshan chuckled darkly. "Though niece Tai has overstepped, we must honor the dead. There's no need to dwell on her mistakes further." Ao Feng's rage erupted, his form nearly trembling with the force of his fury. "If this boy does not die today, I will not leave this place in peace." Yue Zhenshan's response was almost a murmur. "You have so many sons and daughters. What does it matter if one or two perish?" Ao Feng's fury reached its zenith as he charged forward, his palm transforming into 8 razor-sharp blades of energy. Though his hands were empty, the blade intent in his every move was palpable, and it was clear Ao Feng was a swordsman at heart. Yue Zhenshan's words, however, had struck deep. It seemed that in his rashness he had dealt a blow to Ao Feng's pride. The tension in the air was unbearable as the two stood at the precipice of a final confrontation. Chapter 352, Punishment. Decided translator Dark Angel. Editor Kurisu. The two combatants stood firm, eyes locked in fierce determination as the battlefield surged with the tension of their clash. Yue Zhenshan, undaunted, raised his palm to intercept Ao Feng's ruthless strike. In that instant, 7 flashes of qi sprang to life, morphing into giant crimson palms that surged forward with unyielding might, colliding with Ao Feng's 8 flashes of sword qi. Pooh! 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 The two forces met in an explosion of energy, the air crackling with the immense power. The sword qi and giant palms collided, cancelling each other out in a magnificent spectacle. However, Ao Feng's 8th flash of sword qi still held its ground, continuing its relentless advance as Yue Zhenshan had no choice but to nimbly dodge. This was not simply a clash of power, but a contest of Dao comprehension. Both had unleashed their attacks with equal force, yet Ao Feng's superior understanding of the Dao allowed his strike to possess greater strength, pushing Yue Zhenshan to the limit. The difference between the two was subtle but crucial. A master with 8 flashes of qi could easily overwhelm one with 7, and in a battle where one wielded only 1 flash against 8, the disparity would be as vast as the gap between heaven and earth. This was the power of a true ruler in the martial world. Yet, despite the disadvantage, Yue Zhenshan was no weakling. His cultivation was not far behind Ao Feng's, and while he could not claim victory, he was still able to stand his ground for a time. The Winter Moon sect was a place of honour, and should the battle escalate further, intervention from the higher-ups was inevitable. "Yue Zhenshan, do you truly wish to become my enemy?" Ao Feng growled, his fury evident. "My daughter has fallen, and I thirst for vengeance. You will die today." Yue Zhenshan shook his head slowly, his eyes steady. "I have not sparred with you in ages. I wish to see how far your strength has come and whether you have fallen from grace." Ao Feng's anger subsided for a moment as he inhaled deeply, his eyes narrowing with lethal intent. "You could never surpass me, not in the past, not now, and not in the future." His gaze darkened and 2 flashes of cold light exploded from his eyes. cutting through the air with the speed of blades, ripples of power trailing behind them. Yue Zhenshan stiffened. He knew this was no mere boast. Aofeng was superior to him in power, and though the difference was not vast, underestimating his opponent could lead to a swift defeat. "Let us see, then," Yue Zhenshan declared, his voice steady. The stakes were high, and the battle would be decided by their true strength. His words carried weight, a battle stance in themselves. Heng! A powerful pressure descended like a storm, pressing down on the battlefield. The air thickened, and the combatants froze. Stepping down from the heavens themselves, a figure descended with grace, his presence radiating overwhelming might. His eyes swept across the scene, and instantly Aofeng and Yue Zhenshan ceased their fight. The man who stood before them was none other than He Zhengqiu, an elite of the Flower Blossom tier. His immortal aura enveloped the area, and the weight of his gaze demanded reverence from all present. It was as though the presence of a deity had arrived, and even the proud Aofeng and Yue Zhenshan felt their spirits tremble before him. Ling Han observed the scene, recognizing the man. He Zhengqiu was a renowned figure, the very same who had clashed with the Rain Emperor in the Rain Country. Yet, in this instance, He Zhengqiu was not a match for the Rain Emperor's overwhelming power. The Rain Emperor, a ruler of a nation, was an indomitable figure who had used his resources to the fullest, and he had been on the verge of breaking through to the Flower Blossom tier. Ling Han wondered how the Rain Emperor fared now. With his intellect and ambition, the Rain Emperor should be close to his goal. Once he reached the Flower Blossom tier, his life expectancy would be extended by 200 years. At just 60 years old, the Rain Emperor was at the prime of his youth, and Ling Han suspected that soon rumors of a powerful new ruler would spread across the land. "The sect leader has already made a decision," He Zhengqiu announced coldly. "Ao Zitai plotted against one of our disciples, and her death at the hands of Han Lin was justified. However, Han Lin killed her in secret, breaching sect rules. Thus, his punishment is to enter the Dark Devil Forest and collect 7 stalks of fiery sungrass within a year before being allowed to return." The words hung in the air, and the assembly fell into stunned silence. Ao Zitai, the daughter of the Ao clan and a prodigy in her own right, had met her end. Yet, Han Lin's punishment was to collect herbs in the treacherous Dark Devil Forest, a punishment too light for some, considering her status. However, the fiery sungrass was no ordinary herb. It grew only in the deepest, most dangerous parts of the Dark Devil Forest, a place inhabited by demonic beasts of the Flower Blossom tier. Even an elite of the spiritual pedestal tier would dare not enter without caution. Collecting just 1 stalk could take months, and Han Lin was tasked with collecting 7. It was a mission fraught with peril, and many doubted he would return alive. The decision was clear. Though Ao Zitai had wronged, the Ao clan's involvement had resulted in a lenient punishment for Han Lin. Yue Kaiyu, eager to support his friend, immediately declared, "Junior brother Han, I will accompany you." His loyalty was evident, and the bond forged through their shared struggles now saw him willingly stepping into danger alongside Ling Han. Ling Han nodded at Yue Kaiyu, though a flicker of doubt crossed his mind. As Han Lin, he had no reason to take such a risk. Yet with little else to occupy his time, he decided to proceed with caution and see how events unfolded. Aofeng sneered as he cast one last lingering gaze at Ling Han before turning to leave. The decision had been made, and the elder of the Ao clan had backed it. No matter his anger, Aofeng could not defy the clan elder's will. "The Dark Devil Forest?" Aofeng muttered to himself. "In 3 months, I shall reach the Flower Blossom tier, and when I do, I will hunt you down, Ling Han." His voice carried the weight of a vow, full of murderous intent. As the crowd dispersed, Ao Zitai's body was taken away, and many mourned her loss. A goddess had fallen, and the hearts of countless young men were broken in her wake. "Han Lin, you must leave the Winter Moon sect within 3 days," He Zhengqiu commanded, his voice devoid of emotion. "If you attempt to flee, the sect will search the world for you." With that, He Zhengqiu turned and walked away, his power and influence making it beneath him to waste any more time on Ling Han. A mere minor character could not warrant his further attention. Yue Kaiyu frowned. "Junior brother Han, we are in trouble now," he said, fully aware of the difficulty of collecting the fiery sungrass. Ling Han, however, smiled. Who knows, perhaps I'll acquire the thunder battle armor tomorrow. Yue Kai Yu nearly stumbled. Compared to the Dark Devil Forest, the thunder battle armor is nothing, he exclaimed, but Ling Han simply smiled and replied, with the thunder battle armor, wouldn't it be safer for us? Yue Kai Yu scratched his head, feeling something was amiss with that logic, but he could only follow along as events took their course.